mechanical, another mechanical, couple of mechanicals, mostly civils joining, which is not surprising today. And we've got the distinguished Dr. Robert Beam also joining us. And Dr. Beam, I'm just going to take a couple of seconds and just, I know that DOA was a student of yours. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now you have to unmute to talk. Don't you just love technology?
That's true.
So she was in one of your classes, I understand. Is that right?
That's right.
Yes, a solar technology class.
Of course.
No,
Of course.
I think it was a thermodynamics class, if I remember correctly.
No,
Oh.
it was the solar technology class, photovoltaic.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, either class would be great to take under you, Dr. Beam, and I'm so glad you're joining us today. And we're delighted to have DOA with us. And we've got about 16 folks on. I know we had about 27 registered, so I think they're probably going to continue to log on. But it is about 3 minutes after 4, so why don't we go ahead and get started? We don't want to take up our speakers' time nor our attendees' time more than we need to, and we do have unlimited time, just so everyone knows. There is no time limit on any of these webinars, so we will have questions. You can ask questions either during the flow of the presentation or you can save them for the end. And please, students, feel free to just unmute. If DOA says, are there any questions, feel free to unmute, or you can pop it in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat for her, so I'll help her with those questions. So welcome everyone. This is our, gosh, is it our 4th or 5th webinar this spring series with our Engineering Excellence webinars, and we are delighted that you are joining us today. I think today is particularly special. DOA Ross is a very, very well-known community face. She's the Deputy General Manager of Engineering for the Las Vegas Valley Water District and the Southern Nevada Water Authority. Her responsibilities are vast, and I hope we get to hear about some of those today. They include overseeing the engineering infrastructure management and customer care and field services departments. She is an alum from UNLV, of course, with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering, and you just heard her talking to one of her former professors, Dr. Bob Beam, who's also joining us today. She serves on our Howard R. Hughes College of Engineering Advisory Board, which we're very grateful for. She is, of course, a licensed professional engineer. She's worked in the utility industry for over 22 years, and she's been with the district for 20 years. And DOA's lived in Southern Nevada since '91. She's married and she has 2 children. And DOA, I just want to start by thanking you for spending such valuable time with us. You're a very, very busy woman. We all know that. I am amazed at what you've accomplished because we don't see a lot of females at the level that you've risen to anywhere in the country. So welcome, and I'd love for you to just maybe start off with that and how you've managed to break that glass ceiling.
Well, you know, for any of you who have ever heard from back in the day, and I say back in the day because I graduated from UNLV in 1998, and I actually went into the college knowing exactly what I wanted to do by process of elimination and figuring out my career path. But when I got into the college, one of the professors who was involved there and was also part of the civil advisory group was known for going out throughout the university and recruiting women into the program. So by the time I graduated from college, our graduating class was almost a third women, which is unheard of anywhere else in the country. It was really an amazing situation. So that beginning experience just only continued on through with my experience, at least here in Las Vegas. I've been really fortunate with SNWA and the Las Vegas Valley Water District because we are truly pioneers in that area. 2 of our executive management team, 2 deputy general managers are both women engineers who graduated from UNLV. And we have a lot of women in all different technical roles as well as in management within our organization, because we value diversity and we value the differing management styles and tactics that everyone can bring. So we've been very fortunate here. I can't say that's always the case. And as a matter of fact, I was just interviewed last week by a water and wastewater magazine that wanted to run an article on the fact that I am a woman in this role in a male-dominated industry. But it's not so much that it's male-dominated, it is changing. And I challenge you guys to see that change coming in the future.
That's fantastic. And we have several female students joining us today that are civil engineers and other majors. So when you have time, you'll have to glance over and see what their majors are. So we understand that you're going to talk to us today about breaking the mold of a traditional engineer and share your top 10 tips on how to set your career path towards management, which would include networking, mentorship, public speaking, and so much more. So with that, I turn it over to you. And Doa, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. So this is a topic that has been requested a couple times actually of me within young professionals, those who've already graduated from college, but kind of trying to decide the path they want to go down. And I want to preface with the fact that not all engineers necessarily want to go into management, and that is perfectly fine, but some do. And there are some things that we as engineers are automatically ingrained in ourselves of what we want to do. And so I'm going to kind of take you through the things, at least, that I've experienced and that has been successful for me, and what I've witnessed with others that I've helped mentor. And hopefully this can be something, even if you just take away 1 or 2 points, it's something that can hopefully stick with you as you go through in your careers. Okay, so everybody can see the screen, right? I'm hoping so anyway. Okay. So a little bit about the Las Vegas Valley Water District, and forgive me if I turn, but I've got 2 monitors, so the one that I'm sharing is the one to the right. So within the Las Vegas Valley Water District, we serve about 72% of Southern Nevada, all of the resort corridor, majority of the golf courses, residents and businesses. We have 97 reservoirs, 63 pumping stations. I'm not going to read all of this through to you, but we are one of the largest water utilities in the United States, definitely the largest in Nevada. So as was mentioned in the intro, I'm responsible for 3 different departments under my purview. Engineering, which includes everything that is being designed by our organization for both the district and the authority. And that is reservoirs, pump stations, treatment plants, wells, pipelines, all sorts of infrastructure from civil, mechanical, electrical, programming, all of the above. You name it, we do it. The other department is infrastructure management. That's kind of a combination of a lot of different things. We have corrosion control and cathodic protection. We have maintenance engineering that does in-house design on repairing and replacing some of our infrastructure that's either aged or due for some repairs, as well as our planning and engineering services. They run our hydraulic model, which if anybody gets into the world of hydraulics and you get to know about hydraulic models, you go anywhere in the world and you'll hear our name being mentioned when you start talking about the pioneers of a truly accurate hydraulic model. We're very proud of that. And we also have all of the development plans that come in, whether it's a new subdivision being built or a brand new hotel or a public works project. All of those plans get submitted into our groups for review and approval ultimately. And then we also have customer care and billing and field services. And that's everybody from the people that answer the phone when you have a concern. If you see some water running down the road and you want to complain about it, they take those calls, as well as the folks that go out and maintain and test and calibrate all of the meters. And the Las Vegas Valley Water District is the only one in the state of Nevada who has a large meter test bench that's annually checked by weights and measures. So we have full accuracy, and we provide that service for all of our customers if ever they question their meter's accuracy. A little bit into asset management. This is kind of an exciting group that's been growing over the past probably 15 years. It started off with simply just somebody who knows a little bit about corrosion control. And then it has gone into, I kind of call them the fun toy box engineers, if you will. They get all the cool gadgets. They get deep diving remote control machines. They have rovers that crawl through the pipes to be able to look internally. And that's what the picture is on the far right here, is our rover machine that's water quality, goes into the pipe and can actually videotape and measure if there's deterioration inside of the pipe, so that way we can identify a point of a potential leak or where to do some slip line replacements of our pipes. It's a fantastic group of really technically curious, innovative individuals, and they do a lot of leak detection. It's just a great group of very curious engineers that are having the best time of their lives playing with all these gadgets. Here's our maintenance engineering group, some of the projects that they do, where they will go out, design, they'll find the problem somewhere out there and they'll go design a replacement or how to make something better for our operations folks to be able to maintain those. Again, the planning and engineering services group, they're the ones that deal mostly with the developers, with the engineering community out there regarding the plans that they're designing and ready to build. And we also have, of course, the startup team. This is all of the folks that know all of the programming, electrical, chemical systems, controls, all that kind of stuff, because all of our pump stations involve all of this technology. And these guys are the ones who need to know how to do startup officially so we don't blow anything up. We also have our construction division, which includes our construction managers, construction engineers, inspectors, all of the above. They monitor all the construction of our facilities as well as that the developers do. Engineering design does all the design of the major facilities, including replacement pipelines. We're doing a big one on Las Vegas Boulevard right now, and they just finished the low lake level pump station, L3PS, that is truly the first of its kind in the world. So my personal career path, as I mentioned, I graduated from UNLV in 1998. In 2000, I was hired onto the Las Vegas Valley Water District as an assistant civil engineer. Now, between 98 and 2000, I worked for a private consulting firm. And while I was doing that, I was getting involved in a lot of different professional society activities, just trying to kind of find out what I want to do out there. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And it was actually through a lot of the involvement with professional societies that somebody within the Las Vegas Valley Water District became aware of who I was. And they're actually the ones who reached out to me to ask me to apply for this job. So I was hired into the engineering design division, where I was responsible for a lot of our major facility projects, including the Springs Preserve, that when we do the design, we have to go through all of the permitting, entitlement, and coordination with all the agencies, and that's what I did. In 2005, I became a senior civil engineer, which is a supervisor level over that team. In 2009, I became the engineering services manager, and that was the manager of the division that deals with all the development in the community. 2019, Director of Infrastructure Management, and you can see how quickly 2020, this year, I was asked to become the Deputy General Manager of Engineering. So some of the stereotypes of engineers, and if you haven't heard it, you're under a rock, but some of the stereotypes out there are that they're introverts. They don't have any social skills. I have at one time even heard that if you're an engineer, you're not supposed to be a manager because engineers can't manage people, which isn't true at all. I've heard that they're over analytical. They don't understand the field. You'll see sometimes the field perspective says engineers don't know. They just design it and then we'll go over here and build it. And also that they're not community leader material. So these are all stereotypes and they come from somebody's beliefs. So I just prefer engineer. Now, if you choose the path of, I just want to do the design, the actual science, the technology part of it, You want to do that. That's your exciting path. That's why you got into engineering. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Not all engineers want to be management. This is important to understand. Some people, they have a fear of public speaking. They don't want to do it. Some people don't want to have to deal with too many other people because, quite honestly, managing people can be very difficult. It is true that as you go up in management, you are further away from your technical design. And this is just the nature of it, because as you're managing people, you become in a position to manage the people that actually do the design. So some people may not want to be away from that. They don't want to let go of it. Some people believe that they're just really good at what they do best and they would like to continue to do that. And of course, the last one, I don't do politics. A lot of people just don't want to deal with it because the higher up you go, the more political it is. So, but what if you choose the path of management? You say, no, I want to be a manager. I want to go up into that executive level. I want to lead a company or an organization. That's what I'm going to talk about here right now. So when I say it's time to break the mold, we're going to stomp out those stereotypes and get past all that so that you can open all the doors for yourself. So these are my 10 tips. Take them or leave them, it doesn't matter, but this is what I believe is very successful. So number one, join Toastmasters. I know a lot of people will say about it. I did 1 year with Toastmasters. I learned so much with Toastmasters, and I did this while I was a junior in college. 1 year with Toastmasters set me for a future that has opened so many doors. I have been interviewed by the media. I've been recorded for videos and podcasts. I've been in front of audiences of over 1,000 people, or even 10. It doesn't matter. I can speak the same amongst all of them. But my ability to speak has been one of the very first things that anybody who's not an engineer, anybody who's in management, has noticed about me. They said, she can speak and she's an engineer. I don't believe this. Let's bring her in. Let's move her up. So this is so important. It was important for me to learn the proper ways to speak in front of an audience. And I highly recommend it. Even if it's just for a little time, you'll learn a lot just in the very beginning of Toastmasters. Tip number 2, professional organizations. I cannot stress how valuable your involvement in professional organizations truly is. While I was a student at UNLV, I was involved in SWE, ASCE, all the different organizations. Pretty much anybody who would have anything that was of interest, I joined. Now, when I graduated, your time is a little bit more selective at that. You know, once you're out of school, you can kind of pick and choose what you want to spend your time on. So I really did focus a lot of my attention towards ASCE, the American Public Works Association, the American Water Works Association, those types of organizations. And the reason for that is because that's the line of work that I'm in, as well as I wanted to get to know the people that I would be interacting with, whether they're an engineering firm that I would interact with or somebody from a public agency that I might interact with. These professional societies have luncheons, and I would try and attend at least one luncheon a month. That's what I would try and do. I set a goal every single month to do that. And when I did, I would always look to find a table that I don't know anybody at and sit at it. This takes a lot of personal strength to do if you're not an introvert, or if you're not an extrovert. If you're an introverted person, that's kind of hard. But there's nothing wrong with going to the table, sitting down, and simply introducing yourself to the person to your left or your right. It's a great way to get to meet other people, maybe exchange a business card. You'll get familiar with others. You make contacts in other cities, especially if you have conferences for those organizations as well. I still to this day have great friends that are located in Hawaii, Utah, Arizona, Washington, D.C., people that I've met at conferences. I may have only met them once or twice, but I have their contacts. And if ever they're coming to Las Vegas or I'm going there, I try and reach out and at least let them know I'll be there and say hello. Tip 3 is volunteer. It doesn't have to be in an engineering world to volunteer, but it does it helps a lot for not just yourself, your own self-worth, but it also helps to let an employer or a potential employer know that you are a giving person, that you want to be able to give back, not just to the organization you're going to be working for, but maybe also to the community. You don't have to volunteer necessarily in engineering things, but they like to see that you value giving a little bit back, because almost every organization or company you're going to come across is in some way connected to some form of a charity out there, if not many, that they want to give back, and they want to know the people they hire do the same type of thing. So in these things, getting involved in competitions like Math Counts or Future City Competition or First Robotics, I've been involved in all of those, and I've met people through them. I've volunteered to be a guest speaker at a local high school for career days, for example. I've allowed students to shadow me at work and ask all the questions they want. And I start off with telling them, I'm going to tell you once, and you'll know this by the end of the day, all engineers don't walk around with a calculator or a calculus book or anything along those lines. It's very rare that you're actually doing the crunching of the numbers. It is something you do mostly in school. And then when you get out, you've got computers to help you out with a lot of that stuff. It's a lot of meetings. Being a guest lecturer at an engineering class such as this, getting paired up with an engineering student, looking for a professional mentor. I've done mentoring for students over the years in and out of connection with UNLV, sometimes even just through a private connection, and helping out wherever somebody might need some help. I myself did not come from money. I didn't come from an educated family. I was the first to go to college, and I had to figure out my own way to pay for it. So if you have somebody that you run across that says, I don't know if I can do it, or I've had some women who say, gosh, I'm a single mom, or whatever their circumstances may be, I don't think I could do engineering. Those are the types of students that I really want to pair up with to say, no, yes, you can. You absolutely can. Even if it's one class at a time, there is a light at the end of that tunnel, and it's going to come glaring in your face when you finish your program and when you graduate. For me, the greatest achievement was graduating. When I walked across that stage and I said, I have something that nobody else in my family has. I have something that so many other women don't have. I have something that so many young individuals don't have. I have an engineering degree. It was an open door for so much in this university, or in the world, actually. And volunteering for activities outside of your profession, as I was mentioning, it keeps you diverse, and it lets employers know that you're open to a lot of different activities. So tip 4 is technical subcommittees. So as you become a little bit more involved in your career, you'll have opportunities to participate in technical subcommittees. For example, locally here in Las Vegas, there are committees that review standards. There's committees that review fire codes and building codes, or even our own uniform design and construction standards for potable water systems. All these types of things, even if you have an opportunity to just participate, you don't necessarily have to give anything back to it, but just participating and listening, you'll learn so much, as well as meet other people about the process that goes involved in developing these very codes that we have to follow when we're doing design. Professional organizations such as the American Water Works Association has technical subcommittees in anything you can think of. It doesn't matter what you try and think of something, they've got one for it. And participating in those committees, again, gets you an opportunity to learn, listen, contribute, and network. These are all so important to you as a growing professional to add to your resume. Community development committees, those are sometimes not necessarily geared towards your particular job, but even getting involved in a town advisory board. Even if you don't participate on the board, attending the meetings will help you understand what some of these developments go through when they're trying to get their projects approved, the kinds of questions that electeds as well as the community asks, and what these engineers have to consider when they're proposing their projects. Tip 5 is an advisory board. Technical advisory boards for local high schools. For example, I participated, or I was part of the technical advisory board for ATech High School, as well as the Northwest Career and Technical Academy for their engineering programs. And I brought a couple different ideas, one of which, for example, ATech has incorporated into their overall capstone project. And it was one that they had not thought of. They have different curriculums within their high school: engineering, legal studies, business, architecture. They never thought to bring them together and actually have any reason for the different students to communicate. And so I brought forth one particular idea. I said, why don't you make the project something that is cross-disciplinary? Because in the real world, everything is cross-disciplinary. I can't talk about a project without involving our attorneys, and I can't talk about a project without involving our marketing folks. This is involved all the way around. So they really took that to heart and they made that their capstone project. Getting involved in university advisory boards, as you know, not just even from the UNLV College of Engineering's advisory board, but they have student activities there where you can be liaisons to. All of these are opportunities for you to continue your networking, continue to give back to your community while still remaining in a technical capacity. And then the last one I have on here is attending city and county meetings. These are, if you've ever been flipping the channels and you come upon channel 4, for example, or they have a county commission meeting or city council meeting, it's very boring if you've never ever participated in one. You say, what on earth is this? I'm going to flip channels real quick. But actually go and listen. You can go and attend. You can be in the audience. Well, I don't know about right now with COVID, but under normal circumstances, you can go and be in the audience and listen. And it's actually a very entertaining in some areas as well as enlightening experience. You can listen to the questions that are posed of these major development projects. Some of them are major hotel casinos or subdivisions. Some of them you might be passionate about. Maybe there's a new development coming into an area that you really would rather they don't. And there might be a bunch of people there to speak against it. And these are excellent opportunities to learn a little more about what goes on in Southern Nevada. Tip 6, find a mentor. It doesn't matter who. It doesn't even have to be somebody done through your college. You can reach out if you know of somebody, you've seen somebody, or maybe you know someone through someone else, and you think, gosh, that person, I really admire where they are. Look at where they are. I'd like to have an opportunity to be mentored by them. Reach out. Most professionals would love the opportunity to mentor someone, but there are some key things to remember. Some of them, you really want to aim for somebody that you don't typically work with or somebody that you admire. But the important things is take the initiative to contact them. Keep in mind, these are usually busy professionals and they don't know your schedule. Just like you don't know them, but take the initiative to reach out to them to ask when they might be available. Schedule a lunch meeting or a time to get a coffee or tea. Come with a few questions, even if it's just 2. And then leave with an action plan. So if you meet up with your mentor, maybe you have a question about, I'm looking at an internship or this, whatever it may be. What would be your advice? Get that back from your mentor and then have a follow-up plan. Say, fantastic, I'm going to touch base with you in the next 4 to 6 weeks. I'll let you know how I'm doing. There's nothing worse than having both of you waste each other's time. A mentor relationship is one that is cherished by both individuals, but you have to kind of put that effort into it. A lot of people are afraid to reach out to professionals because they just believe that, well, they don't know me and they won't have time for me. And that's absolutely not true. There are so many professionals that would just love to be a mentor. They just don't know how to get in touch with the students. Tip 7, step out of your comfort zone. Become familiar with the products that are used to construct your designs. I mention this because of the fact that I went through all of my engineering college degree believing that a gate valve was a circle with an X in it. had no idea what it actually looked like in real life until I came to work for the Las Vegas Valley Water District. I did so many design plans showing gate valves and knowing their purpose, but I didn't even know what they looked like. So when I came here, I then said, oh, that's a gate valve. It looks very different in real life than it does on a set of drawings. And that's just one example. It doesn't matter what discipline you're in. Become familiar with the actual products. Asked to do a ride along with field staff. Getting out into the field is one of the best and fastest ways you will ever put your education to use. When you see what you've learned for so long in your classes and you actually see it being built, or you see it being attempted to be built, maybe what are the issues? All of that is an opportunity for you to expand that knowledge. What you're getting in college is the fundamental, everything fundamental for you to be able to walk into a job. What you actually see being built and learn from that, that's your real life experience. And this is why when you go to get your professional engineering license, it is education plus experience. The two are a must for you to get your license, because you can't get everything from one or the other. Getting involved in specifications or construction standards. Every single contract that goes out to be built has some form of a specification or construction standards. Get familiar with them, start reading through them, ask questions. When I came into the Las Vegas Valley Water District, I knew nothing about pump stations and reservoirs other than one moves water and one holds water. I started looking into some of the construction specifications and standards, and I learned a lot, but I also asked probably 10 questions for every one that I figured I knew. And it was maybe annoying. I don't know. Nobody told me, but I learned a lot. And I asked to go out to all the jobs, every single one of them. Also, don't be afraid to move. And this was actually told to me by an engineer years ago, who she was the first general manager of the regional flood control district. She was the city manager for a long time. She's now over the Nevada Resort Association, Virginia Valentine. She once told all young professionals actually in a thing, but she told me, don't ever be afraid to move. Every time you move to a different job function, a different part of your organization, or even to a different company, you're opening up an opportunity to learn something new or expand on what you know, and it only strengthens your own resume. I often see people get so comfortable with the one thing that they do that they find themselves being pigeonholed. And again, that goes to being, are you wanting to be an engineer that stays with a technical skill, or do you want to move into management? If you want to move into management, you need to expand your knowledge base, because you need to, at the end of the day, become a jack of all trades, a master of none. You know a little bit about everything. And then those expert engineers and scientists are the ones doing the hardcore design on their specialty. Also, practice humility. Know your worth and what you bring to the team, but continue to learn from everyone around from you. Unfortunately, I see probably one of the biggest mistakes of young professionals is when they graduate, they believe, and this is not everyone, this is just of some, they believe that, well, I have my degree, so therefore I should get a take-home vehicle and an office with a window and all this stuff. And they don't truly appreciate the fact that they have to earn their way there. They've got to start from the bottom, not to say that you're not worth as much, but you are going to learn all of those things from the people that are over you or around you. And then you start building up your worth and earning those places at the table, if you will. So practice that humility. Understand that I'm in a stage of my career where I'm learning still. I'm not an expert. I might be an expert in some things, but I'm not an expert in all things. So I want to continue to learn. And can I learn from you? Or can I learn from you? That's very important. Tip number 8, let it be known. So if you don't let people know that you are interested in opportunities or willing to move up the management chain, people won't know. So even if you think that you may not necessarily be qualified for a particular position, even just applying for it lets somebody know that you're interested in expanding your experience and maybe even taking an opportunity of a greater challenge. It also exposes you to the types of questions that might be asked. Those types of things are very important. I wouldn't be in this particular position right now if I hadn't let it be known that I'm interested in moving up. They had no idea. And I said, I am absolutely interested. I will go exactly wherever this organization feels they can use me to the best benefit of the organization. And I'm willing to step up to the challenge. They saw that in me over the past couple of years, which is why I am where I am today. Don't be afraid of those oddball assignments. If somebody says, hey, can you do this? Think of it as a learning opportunity. You might think of it as a boring, crappy little job at the moment, but it's an opportunity to learn and possibly add another tool to your toolbox. Those are things that we learn from. Take on every task with a can-do attitude. Give 110% so that people know that you gave your all and you're willing to give your all to that next assignment that they give you. Let your superiors know if you desire to move up. And these are quotes that I personally live by. Look to leave, but work to stay. And all that means is if you keep your eye on what the industry is currently recruiting for, then you'll always know the types of skills that you need to hone in on, maybe the new technologies you need to become familiar with. You say, gosh, they're hiring over there and this is what they're looking for. I need to make sure I've got those kinds of skills in my personal box, if you will. But work to stay, meaning you work super hard so that they don't ever want to lose you. If you are always looking to leave but working to stay, you're always keeping yourself at the edge of what the industry is looking for. Dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. This was actually something that an intern who worked under me years ago said. Our interns are allowed to come to work in jeans and a nice t-shirt, but they don't have to wear professional attire. I had an intern who came to work every day in slacks, a button-down shirt, and a tie. Doesn't matter what day it was, he was in that every day. And I said to him, you know, as an intern, you don't have to dress professional attire every single day. And he says, dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. And I'll tell you what, nobody ever looked at him as an intern. They looked at him as a professional. And I gave him credit because that's so true. And the more you learn, the more you earn. This is just something that I personally have felt, that if you continue to learn, doesn't have to necessarily be engineering, it can be anything, but the more you are learning, don't become stagnant. It is that much more that you add to your personal well-worth, your personal resume, all of those things. And as a matter of fact, when I was in Dr. Beam's class, I remember him asking me, why are you in a solar photovoltaic class at the time? And it had absolutely nothing to do with my degree as a civil engineer. I said, well, I want to learn. I want to know about that so that when I graduate, I can say I'm familiar with that. And like, whether you know it or not, Southern Nevada Water Authority, Las Vegas Valley Water District, we have solar photovoltaic systems throughout our whole system. And we're even moving towards an even bigger project now for a solar project. Tip 9, surround yourself with amazing people. So these are just some of the photos of people that I either went to school with or work with or worked underneath me as well. And all of these individuals share the same passion for wanting to give back to the community, wanting to do the best that they can, wanting to learn more and support each other. So the more you're around individuals who think like you and believe the same as you, then you will automatically be elevated just by the people you're around. It is so true. And then tip 10, don't listen to the critics. So when I came to the water district, I was asked in my particular role, like I said, I was coordinating a lot of our major projects with agencies, permitting, entitlement process, that kind of stuff. The actual team was called permitting team. And I remember that when I took that job, and I even took the supervisor job for that team, there were people that I knew that they are not amongst the people I hang out with. Number one, I'll tell you that. There were people that I knew that said, oh, she'll never go anywhere doing permitting. It's a dead end job. I've been told you don't know anything about what we do in the field. So for each of these types of quotes that I received, I didn't get mad. I made it a point to, through my actions, prove them wrong. That was it. I didn't get mad at them because unfortunately they have some sort of stereotype or misbelief in their mind. I said instead, okay, I will rise above and I'm going to show them. That's what I'm going to do. So whenever they said, for example, you don't know what we do in the field, I said, I'd like to join you in the field. I'll meet you out there. If any of our construction folks had a question, even to this day, I keep a spare pair of boots, jeans, socks, jacket, because even if I'm wearing a dress to work, I never want to have an opportunity where I can't go out in the field. I want to be able to do the whole Superman change and run out to the field, because I want them to know and appreciate that I'm willing to know what they do in the field. You're too young to understand. I heard that several times, not necessarily with the Las Vegas Valley Water District, previous firm I was with, but I took that, unfortunately, to be a part of the culture of the firm that I was with at the time. They have since changed dramatically, so I don't want to misquote any firm. But the people that I was working with, that was their personality, and they're also not with that firm anymore. You can't take that approach with people. It's part of diversity and inclusion. You have to understand everybody's perspective. I may have been young, but I could very much learn, and I could very much retain and have intuitive thought. So again, don't be mad by these. Don't listen to them. And this last quote was actually from my high school advisor. When I was in high school, I was doing all of my advanced math, and I asked for the next semester or next school year, I said, do I need to take more math? This is before I knew I wanted to be an engineer. And his answer back to me was, you should go into cosmetology school and do hair and makeup. And that's because he believed that that's what women did. And I shook my head and thought, no, I could do so much better than that. I don't need to listen to that. Something like that can continue to hurt you if you let it bother you. So don't listen to those critics. Turn your haters into elevators. So here's some fun pictures. This is me inside of a Tyvek suit as I was getting ready to go into the 72-inch SNWA line on the east side of the valley. We knew there was some sort of a leak. Our folks could do some acoustic testing to see where it was. And so we shut everything down enough to get us in there. You can't really see, but the black at the top of my legs, those are the boots. They go all the way up to the top. So that way we don't bring any contaminants in. We get hosed down with sodium hypochlorite, basically chlorine bleach, if you will, so that we can step in. And I go in with gloves and goggles and all that other business on. But again, this is just one of the fun things. This is a 144-inch SNWA line that we had constructed out by the third intake going over to the low lake level pumping station. I went to a manufacturing plant. The picture on the right is me next to a 48-inch gate valve. So you can see the gate valves look a little different than what we see on paper. And the picture on the left is they're pouring the molten for casting ductile iron pipe. So I said, who needs cosmetology school? Just because I didn't listen to my high school advisor doesn't mean I still didn't do it. It was a passion of mine. I decided to start doing some makeup and special effects stuff, and it is stuff I do on the side. It's not what I get paid for. But this was me kind of tilting my hat back to my high school advisor, who thought that that's all I should do. I do that kind of stuff on the side. And I put all of my knowledge, if you will, of materials and concrete, this whole mountain from the Jack Skellington Nightmare Before Christmas is actually a concrete mix that we made called Monster Mud. And that thing was solid and it was huge. Jack Skellington's almost 8 feet tall there. And I also learned how to sew by hand. Nobody ever taught me this, but I started making some costumes. I love Halloween, if you haven't figured that out. It's one of my favorite holidays. And done even more stuff. This is what I show up to work in, by the way. So every year for Halloween, everybody gets so excited to see what in the world I'm going to do, because they usually can't tell who I am or what I look like. So you'll always be an engineer. If you choose management, you're just going to be one who wants to lead. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with staying the technical path, but there is a path to get yourself to management should you choose. Questions?
Doa, I'm going to kick that off. Oh my gosh, that was fabulous. Thank you so much. It was so varied and you had so many things to speak about. One question that popped up in my mind, I'd love to know what you enjoy most and what you enjoy least about the field of engineering.
Well, one of the main reasons why I even got into engineering, specifically civil engineering, is because I wanted something that I knew I would be giving back to the community. Since a little girl, I was kind of a bleeding heart. I'm going to save the planet, one aluminum can at a time person. And I realized that that's a much bigger bite than I can possibly take in the world. So how could I contribute? And so with the work that we do with the Las Vegas Valley Water District and Southern Nevada Water Authority, I'm so proud to be a part of this organization, not just because we are managing the resources, the water quality, and planning for the future for Southern Nevada, but we also do so much to protect critical parts of our environment, to make sure that we are doing everything we can to ensure that those in Southern Nevada continue to thrive and have opportunities to thrive. And that makes me happy. So the best part of it really is knowing that it's not so little anymore, a little desert town can thrive and continue to grow, and it wouldn't exist without water. And honestly, it's a fantastic feeling knowing that I'm giving back to this community.
So that's actually a an interview question that some of our students have gotten from different recruiters and different employment managers. And so I chose that question for a reason, because I wanted them to hear a professional answer that question. So thank you for that answer. So students, you can either unmute and ask a question, or you can pop your question in the chat. The time is yours. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we've got one in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and take that one. Let's see. I think that was from Krups.
Yes.
Let's see. How do you feel about places like Lake Las Vegas that waste a huge amount of water?
So interestingly enough, Lake Las Vegas, when I was taking the class in the curriculum, which is at the time it was Intro to Engineering is what it was called, EGG 102 or something like that, whatever it was called at the time. I think it's now more like an engineering ethics class or something. But at the time, we all had to learn about a lot of different things, and then we had to pick kind of one team project that we work on, and it was sort of the beginning of your engineering career, if you will. The project that my team and I actually ended up picking was Lake Las Vegas, not because of the actual what fills it with water. I know that that's what you're getting at right there, and I'll get to it in just a minute. It was actually because of the fact a lot of people don't know the Las Vegas wash actually flows underneath Lake Las Vegas to get out to Lake Mead. And it goes underneath Lake Las Vegas via two 84-inch diameter culverts. And this is before a lot of the improvements to the Las Vegas wash were done, which SNWA leads, weir systems and all that. So all of the debris and shopping carts and everything else that the Las Vegas wash comes gathering in its fury would get it all up against those trash racks before the 84-inch culverts under the lake, or Lake Las Vegas. So all that mucky water would flow right over into Lake Las Vegas and contaminate the heck out of it. So my team was involved in designing a system that would help to slow the water down, give it an opportunity to settle out, and then actually just flow water through those culverts. The actual lake itself, at the time, I believe, was filled through some groundwater rights that they had out there. I'm not familiar with exactly all of their groundwater rights that they do have out there. I do know that they reside within the city of Henderson's jurisdiction, but it is something that was built with their own rights of water to be able to do so. So something like that probably would never fly again, especially not within any of the areas that would be served by our surface water. But I'm not too familiar with exactly how they're filled today. I do know at the time they were filled with some groundwater, so it's kind of a tricky thing.
What's the main reason you went into management, and is having a master's advantageous if you choose that path?
So I went into management mostly because of the fact that I found that I had a really good knack for being able to explain very technical concepts to non-technical people. I'm not excited by sitting down doing the hardcore design. I did that. I did it for several years, and that wasn't exciting to me. What was more exciting to me was finding solutions to things that don't have traditional solutions, thinking outside of the box. I laugh at the movie Armageddon, where they threw the box of widgets down on the table and said, this is everything that's on the shuttle, and we got to find a way to make a solution. That's 100% me. I love that kind of stuff. Give me a challenge, give me what tools I have to work with, and I'll find you some solution. So I found that I was really good at being able to help work groups manage their way through a problem, to get past a problem. I definitely excelled at that within the development community and being able to find solutions. So I found that I liked doing that more than actually sitting and doing the design. And that was really kind of my introduction into management as you go on up. What was the second part of your question? I'm sorry. Oh, the master's degree. So, you know, there are pros and cons to both. And again, this kind of goes what path you choose. If you choose to be a technical expert in something, so say you really want to get into structural design or environmental or geotech, whatever it may be, and you want to be the leader in that technology, a lot of those career paths actually require that you have your master's degree. There are some firms that won't even talk to you until you have your master's degree because they consider themselves to be subject matter experts in those designs. That's that path. If you choose to go the path of management, the master's degree is not necessary. The PE is very important. And within our organization, if the word engineer is in that title, you better go get your PE, because we want to make sure that we can walk the talk and that we can communicate back with the professional engineers we're working with, as well as do our own designs. So I personally did not get my master's degree. I probably am some halfway through a master's program, but I kept changing my mind what I wanted to do. I did get my PE, and that if I got a master's degree today, I'd get a clap. That's what I would get. It doesn't do anything for me. But if I wanted to go be a subject matter expert or do the hardcore design in some of these very technical fields, specialized fields, I better have that master's degree. Okay, I see.
Hello.
I see in management, how do you tactfully address team members not pulling their weight? That's tricky. So depends on where you are in that management. So if you are directly responsible for that individual, if they work for you, for example, and they're not pulling their own weight, it is really up to you to coach them. Now, the idea is not to immediately go in thinking, I'm going to fire you. No, you want to coach them into the right behavior. Find out what it is. Maybe they don't know how to do the task. Maybe they are not fully seeing the big picture in terms of when something is due or what they're expected to do. So you always have to err on the side of caution and give them the benefit of the doubt. Talk to them, find out what is it that's preventing them from completing their task. Make sure they understand what their task is when it's due. Now, if you're a teammate with that person, that's a little different because you're not responsible for their work performance, if you will. That gets a little tricky. If you're comfortable enough with that person, you may want to talk with them and say, hey, what gives? How come I'm doing all this work and you're not? That can be a little tough. If not, if you don't have that comfort, then you really do have to go to whoever that level of management is over that individual to be able to say, I'm not sure, but can you help them to pull their own weight on this particular project? It's a tricky area. And usually wherever you work, human resources is involved to help you out.
Yeah, that's a great answer. We hear that a lot of times, sometimes when senior design pops up. Great answer. So I loved what you said about the public speaking and getting involved in Toastmasters and breaking those stereotypes of engineers not being able to be social and articulate. So I'm going to ask the students who have actually popped questions into the chat to unmute and ask their question themselves. I think this is a good practice for them. So Omari, are you there? Are you comfortable enough to unmute and ask your question?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay, perfect. Yes. So I was wondering, if you didn't want to go into the management side per se, are there still good opportunities to grow your career just from the technical side? Because it seems like in management, you can just kind of continue to go up in a sense. But what would like be the limitations on the technical side? And then I also have a second question as well.
Sure.
What are like good opportunities here in Vegas to get involved with internships? Because compared to other places, compared to like, I don't know, like California for per se, it just seems like there's not as many opportunities, although we still have some, just not as many. So those were my two. Thank you.
Sure. So on the technical side, you can absolutely have opportunities to move up within technical. For example, in our engineering design division, we have senior civil engineers, which are supervisors, but we also have senior program engineers. And they're also a type of a supervisor. However, all they're supervising is a very small technical staff. That's it. And they are then in charge of major technical projects. So they might be responsible for communicating with the consultants out there who might be doing some design work with us, responding to the field, construction groups, contractor requests for information, all that kind of stuff. So any one of the technical areas you go in, you can move up within your technical expertise without having to do the full management perspective. You stay very much in your technical field, but you become kind of a specialist in that area. And then you get pulled in on certain projects to be the lead of this or the lead of that. We just, for example, did some interviews with teams of consultants for one of the largest projects we're about ready to kick off. And they showed us their organizational chart, and they have their teams, but they have those lead technical persons over each of those teams. And those are the ones that have truly honed their skills on their technical abilities. And then they're also sort of helping the newer technical staff on that team or the less experienced technical staff to learn and grow from them. So you're not necessarily in full-blown management, but you become that technical expert. So there are opportunities, as well as even still continuing to move into management. If you work for one of these engineering firms, you can definitely get into management and be that technical expert. But keep in mind that they want to give you the opportunity to grow your business or grow the staff. So you're going to be giving up a little bit of the technical control. But it's truly up to you how much you want to give into that role. You can become as involved or not involved as you like in your technical field. The other part of your question with respect to opportunities is definitely the local engineering firms are a great place to start. They have so much business right now that they can't seem to fill all the engineering positions. A lot of the engineering firms do internships, large amounts of internships, because that's where they want to grow their next generation of engineers. They figure if they can get them in as an intern, it's kind of a free trial of a job, if you will. They're not paying the amount of money that they would to a permanent full-time employee for an intern. So it's a way of them kind of trying you out, see how you are. And if they see some really good, promising abilities in you, then they want to keep you. They'll want to hang on to you as soon as you graduate and offer you that full-time job. So I would definitely say that, depending on what your degree path is, you can talk with all the utilities, NV Energy, Southwest Gas. We do internships as well too. Even the contractors, they need all the specialties. They need electrical, mechanical, civil, all those involved for internship opportunities. Interns to a professional company is like cheap labor, because they get you for 20 hours a week or whatever it is, and they're not paying you a full-time salary, but you get to still learn from them as well. It's a great opportunity. But if you need any specific advice, feel free to reach out to me. I'll leave my contact information. Okay. Next
Thank you.
question. Sabrina.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation, first and foremost. I'm going into engineering for policy. So I'm kind of split between doing a master's in civil engineering and also taking some classes in the public policy school. And where I'm getting at is that sometimes it's really hard to find other people that kind of understand my trajectory, which is like a little bit, and I apologize for lack of a better word, but like lonely in my mid-20s. Is that something you've ever like felt? And if it is, how have you ever combated it?
You know, I would recommend honestly to find you a mentor, and I can probably think of a half dozen right off the top of my head right now. That would be fantastic to meet up with you. You're not alone. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why I never even finished my master's degree is because I started off wanting to go into this engineering management idea at the time that Dr. Vodraska had thrown out. And I said, yes, that's me, because I didn't want to do an MBA and I didn't want to do necessarily an MPA, which is public administration, but I wanted that engineering management degree. That didn't take off at the time that I was doing stuff. So I did do classes in the MPA program as well, which is slightly involved with engineering, slightly. And it's really not. So the public policy part is huge, because especially in today's administration, whether it's Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. Infrastructure and understanding the policies around all things engineering is so important, because the majority of the politicians don't understand all of the engineering issues that are out there, whether it be a deteriorating bridge or needing new water systems or global warming. It doesn't matter. All of those things need people like you to be involved. So you might be a great person to be paired up with somebody like our Deputy General Manager for Resources, for example. She also graduated from UNLV, and she deals with policy way more than I ever would, way more. But she's an engineer and still has to have that engineering knowledge, a lot of hydrology and all that kind of stuff. So I would definitely say a great place for you would be to get paired up with a fantastic mentor, and I'd be more than happy to make some suggestions for you.
Thank you.
Wow, that's great. That's super. Okay, Christopher, are you with us? Christopher has a question. Let's see if I can find it.
I forgot I just have to hit unmute.
Oh, that's okay. Go for it. Go for it. Yay, you're there.
Okay, very good. Okay, so my question, when I came to Las Vegas several years ago, I became a landscaper and learned irrigation and developed a sort of a passion for like a water delivery system that conserves water. if I wanted to, and I've always been interested in Las Vegas Valley Water District, if I wanted to find like a volunteer opportunity or internships through specifically this company, what should I look out for and when kind of thing?
So we do internships. We have, I'll have to check through our human resources department. And what I can do is after this particular presentation session is over with, I can put our recruiter in touch with, or I'll give Marion the contact so that way she can get this back out to everyone who registered. So if you're interested, that way you can get involved. The Springs Preserve is another way that we take volunteers, although it's not been open during COVID. So we're looking to slowly reopen, but in a non-COVID world, yes, we have opportunities for internships. We pay our interns, so it's not volunteer, sorry. We have opportunities for internships as well as getting involved even out at the Springs Preserve. A lot of people don't recognize or know that the Springs Preserve is not just about sustainable gardening. Like, we have a lot of engineering marvels built into that thing, including hay bale walls, compost toilets, passive cooling systems, all sorts of stuff. And we did that to be able to challenge our design professionals to say, let's think outside the box, including outside of the code. But we have opportunities for volunteering as well out there. So any of those avenues are definitely available. But I will follow up after this with Marion with our contact from our HR department for where you can get in touch.
Okay, thank you.
That'd be great. Thanks, Doa. And I think Gennaro has a question. So just
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Well, thank you for Ms. Mason and Ms. Ross for hosting this event. It's really interesting, and it's such a great thing to hear what you have accomplished. I think I come from the same type of background where there was no examples to look at, to look forward to, and seek advice. But my question is regarding to mechanical engineering opportunities. I did an internship for the Water Reclamation District when I was in high school, and that was when I was interested in civil engineer, but something kind of pushed me to be more of a mechanical engineer. So I wanted to hear from you what opportunities that you guys offer in your company.
Yes, so at the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned our asset management division as well as our maintenance engineering division. And in our asset management division, their specialty, if you will, is kind of materials, pump performance, cathodic protection, corrosion control, that kind of stuff. If you are interested in the world of mechanical engineering, unless you are one of those individuals that says, I want to design robots all day long, then I can't help you with that. But if you are interested in a very, very emerging sector of mechanical engineering, is get into asset management in any way, shape, or form. I promise you, the jobs are there. They're out there like crazy. Our whole asset management division is mechanical engineers. We have one civil engineer in the group who has sort of morphed into a mechanical engineer because they have to understand the material performance, the performance of the moving equipment, the I call it the voodoo black box magic that they do. I tease them all the time because they just kind of come up with stuff, and I believe them because they are truly experts in their field. But it's a field that they're learning as they go, and it's growing like crazy. And that's not even applicable just to us. Southwest Gas has a huge asset management group with cathodic protection and corrosion control, and you'll find this in anybody who does bridges and railways and all that kind of stuff as well too. So that's that group. Our maintenance engineering group is primarily mechanical. We have some civils and some electricals because, again, they are the ones that are going out and designing a replacement or an upgrade to our existing system. So they're going into our pump stations, figuring out the best pumps to replace. If we have to do generators, they're doing that. They're doing different valving, all that kind of stuff. They kind of dabble a little bit into some civil things, but primarily that's their specialty, is all the equipment that's involved. So yeah, we have a lot of opportunities for those. In fact, we recently had at the beginning of every year, we have retirements. As the way the retirement system works, if you work for so many days in a year, you get credit for that whole year on taxes. I don't know how this works. And then they can retire. So basically, we had a bunch of people retire about the third week of January. And so we are slowly going through backfilling positions. As we get to those lower level engineers, the entry level positions, we don't have anybody to fill them. We have to pull from the outside, as well as get interns and so forth. Our maintenance engineering division loves mechanical interns. They get usually a couple of them each year because they want to get them exposed to everything and have them as a potential hire in the future. So again, I would definitely consider that. Southwest Gas, us, NV Energy, not as much. They do some civil and electrical, but anything that's going to be, and same thing with City of Henderson, they have as well pump stations and stuff like that they're maintaining. So they do have mechanicals as well too.
You know what I'd love to do is maybe a panel discussion with a rep from each of those three companies just on asset management geared toward mechanicals, because I think
Absolutely.
our mechanicals and to a lesser degree our electricals, everybody knows this is a civil engineering town for the most part, although we keep hearing that manufacturing is coming on strong, and we're all going, when? Let's see that happen, because our mechanicals and electricals will benefit from that. So yeah, anything we can do to help get the word out to the MEs and the EEs. The civils are pretty well covered,
Yes.
I think, although it was interesting, I can't remember who asked the question, it might have been Omari, saying I'm not really sure. We see more in California than we see here, but
well, anywhere you have an area that is along the coast, that's going to be heavy on mechanical. They just generally do have more mechanical needs. Anything that is related to, any of the maritime stuff, you've got right. Refineries, all that just drives mechanicals so much. So we don't have that here.
Right. But
we do have other things. And
we do.
I would absolutely, if you need a presentation for your mechanicals or your electricals, our asset manager, who has a really fun attitude, he gives some fantastically fun presentations. He can come and talk about the asset management stuff that we do. He's got all sorts of videos and pictures, and the stuff that makes you kind of go, what? And then the stuff that goes, all right, you guys got it. And same thing with our electricals. We've got some fantastic folks that are just fun to listen to. I know it doesn't sound normal for all the stereotypes out there, but they really are. And I know I could get both of them in a heartbeat to come give some presentations.
We'll take them, Doa. You can promise I'll follow up on that. So I think we do have another question from Amari. Amari, you want to go ahead and ask that question?
Yes,
thanks,
definitely.
Gennaro. Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you, Gennaro and Barad. Yeah, we're all in agreement on that. They all love what you just said about the MEs and EEs, because we're always digging for that. But yeah, please go ahead and ask that question.
Absolutely.
Okay, so one thing that I did want to know as well is how do you really balance out your work and trying to progress in your career with just the rest of what you want to do in your off life, say having a family, doing hobbies, catching up with friends and whatnot? Because I know a lot of the things you mentioned were about getting involved within the city, getting involved with others, going to Toastmasters, so where does that kind of come into balance with your career and your life? So essentially a work-life balance.
Sure. I am definitely a poster child for work-life balance. As a matter of fact, I believe I was at UNLV one day when Dr. Culbreth asked me one day, when are you going to finish your master's degree? And I said, it keeps getting in the way of my world travels. That was my answer. Not the answer he wanted to hear, but so when I did Toastmasters, I mentioned I did that during my junior year of college. It was a lunchtime Toastmasters. Most Toastmasters will find a way to meet during lunch or sometime that you can fit into your day, because they don't want to interrupt your day any more than you want them to. So Toastmasters, you can find a meeting somewhere, even if it's a Saturday morning, somewhere they have meetings that coordinate with your schedule. So that was an easy one to check off. Attending things like council meetings, all that kind of stuff. It's not something you're supposed to do every single week. Pick one a quarter that you want to go to. If you go to a town board meeting, for example, and I live in Mountain's Edge, so we're in the Enterprise Town Board, I try to attend one town board meeting just simply to hear what's being proposed out there and also to hear what some of the people have to say about it. I try and attend one every 6 months. It keeps me up to date. It's not necessary, but even attending one opens your eyes to a whole bunch of stuff in the way things happen. Professional societies, usually when they have you get involved, it's a lunch meeting. So you're giving up a lunchtime. If you go to work for an engineering firm or a contractor or anything along those lines, you're entitled to your lunch hour, and they encourage you to be involved in professional societies because they know it's going to further your networking. You might be able to bring their company a little business by reaching out to somebody. So a lot of these things are built around your lunchtime or spare time. While you're a student, it's a little bit harder because obviously if you're not in class, you should have homework or some sort of a job happening. I didn't do as much while I was a student. I waited till I was out of school and then said, well, since I'm not doing homework and I actually have an evening instead of doing homework all night long, I have some time to do stuff. The things I would volunteer for, Habitat for Humanity or Math Counts or Future Cities, those types of things are usually, unless you're doing a mentor role where you have to meet with the students every single week, it's usually just during the competition. So it's one day that you're giving up a year. So you don't have to necessarily pick the things that are going to eat up all of your time. Maybe it's something that is only an occasional, but that's something else that you add to your resume. And these are all things that you can say, I participated in this and I was part of that. I volunteered for professional societies as I was in school and when I got out, but only to the extent that I wanted to or could in my personal time frame. I didn't want to have my entire life eaten up by engineering or by my profession. I wanted to have free time. I wanted to travel. I wanted to be able to have my family and do all that other stuff. So I was able to do all of that by picking what I want to do. So maybe I take a break from something for a little while and I'll pick it back up later when I have some time. These are not things that are expected of you every single week.
Okay, thank you. That made a lot of sense.
Very good. Any other questions? Does anybody else have any other questions? No? We may have come to the end of our time. It's 5:20. My goodness, that was a well-packed hour and a half of a lot of information. Doa Ross, Deputy General Manager, Las Vegas Valley Water District and Southern Nevada Water Authority. We are so thankful that we got you to come and speak to our students. Thank you so much for your time and your energy and your insight. And we will be in touch with you for sure to talk about that asset management panel discussion. And
Absolutely.
I know Sabrina will be in touch with you for that mentoring contact. I did put your email up. I hope that's okay. Is
Absolutely.
it all right if people contact you if they want to just touch base or say thanks? Is that okay for them to do?
Absolutely. Even if they just have a question or want some advice or whatnot, anybody can reach out to me. I personally answer my emails only when it involves trying to set up a meeting. Does my assistant get involved? Because she manages my calendar, but I do respond to my emails.
Very good. Well, we very much appreciate you. The next Engineering Excellence webinar, Reams is longtime entertainment director here in Las Vegas. He's been with Cirque du Soleil and most recently Treasure Island Resort. He's going to be reviewing your resumes to make them stand out resumes. So if you have a resume that you want reviewed live during Mr. Reams' webinar, that's going to be March 9th at 4 p.m. send your resume to me. We will actually cloak your name, and he will give you pointers on how to make that a standout resume. March 9th with Paul Reams, longtime entertainment director. So he'll probably put some sparkle into your resume, whether you want it or not, because he's all about entertainment. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you. Have a great evening, and we'll see you at the next Engineering Excellence webinar. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.